Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Bremner Square podcast. My name is Jonny, and joining me as usual, we have Kieran Archer. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, really, really good until about what was it, 5-10 minutes into the second half yesterday.
Yeah, we'll get on to that Spurs defeat, obviously, later on in the Leeds TV, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube pages. So make sure to get your comments and thoughts in on that defeat to Spurs yesterday in the comment section. We'll be sure to read as many of them out as possible. But let's dive into it then. Spurs 2, Leeds 1, and it was looking oh so good in that first half, wasn't it, Kieran?
Yeah, the first half performance was a continuation of Leicester, if anything. We looked energetic, even without key players on the pitch, even more unavailability issues. The energy was there. We were nicking balls so easily in midfield, sort of. I don't know if it was the passing that Spurs were doing, whether they were just looking for the wrong balls or they weren't too sharp. But our midfield was picking up those forward balls so easily. And we're just on top. Spurs did look dangerous at times in the first half when they managed to get Lucas Moura or Son on the ball, but they weren't doing that very much, and it just allowed us to get completely on top. Only managed to yield one goal from that first half where we're on top. But going in to the break with a lead and playing the better football, it was just I felt so confident at half time. Yeah. I thought nothing's going to go wrong here. We're well on top, but then the second half, Spurs come out a completely different side.
Well, this is why I hate half-time, and I think it should be scrapped from football. I think you start how you mean to go on, and half-time has given them the perfect opportunity to get a proper hair-dry treatment. It was his first home league game in charge of Spurs. He was getting the crowd up for it in the last couple of minutes as well, wasn't he? But I just sort of knew they were going to come out second half. Look, we obviously were going to have to weather some sort of storm in the second half. It's Tottenham Hotspur, it's Harry Kane, it's Heung-min Son. Like, they are very good players who are going to test us at points. And especially when you look at the lineup that we had, yes, it was a defeat, but focusing on the positives, with that lineup, Kieran, and obviously Rafinha and Rodrigo, they were missing. It was... Yes, obviously we can take positives from it, can't we?
Yeah, I think so. Once again, it's still a defeat, and you're still going to feel a bit dragged down by a defeat. But there was, like I say, the first half performance very much a continuation of Leicester, and I think if we can maintain the levels that we showed against Leicester and in that first half against Tottenham throughout more of the season, then we shouldn't be in trouble. The unavailability issues were obviously quite a big problem. Yeah. Joe Gelhardt came in at striker, and I thought he gave a really bright performance, a really confident performance for such a young player. I don't think he's ready to lead the line as a striker yet. I'm not sure if that's ever going to be his best position. He's a very creative player. I think he likes to play a little bit behind the striker. There were a lot of crosses going into the box, and he's never going to be on the end of them, is he? If anything, we shouldn't have been crossing so much, or we should have been looking for low crosses. But despite him being very bright, and I think there's good signs, and I think he's ready for more first team football, I think it did show that we're calling out for as real number 9 Patrick Bamford to be back, because I think if Bamford's on, it's a different game. I think another positive is without Rafinha, we did manage to create a fair few chances.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Because, a lot of our football has been going through Rafinha recently, but I think Jack Harrison stepped up, put in his best performance since the first couple of games of the season. Dan James getting a goal, I think that's a really big positive for him. I think he needed that. So yeah, there are positives there for definite.
Well, I think it was a chance for James or Harrison, and in a case it was James and Harrison, to step up without Rafinha, because like you say, Rafinha has taken so many of the headlines this season. One of them needed to do something, and thankfully they were both involved in the goal. Obviously, an assist for Harrison, a fantastic nutmeg on the way through to the assist as well. It's finished from James, and at that point we are thinking, look, we could be taking the 3 points here. Don't get too excited, but we are doing well. But I know what you mean. We were crying out for that number 9, and Patrick Bamford. It's just I don't think he'll be back for Brighton. Do you? I don't know. The signs don't seem too positive.
No, but not put a timescale on it. And usually when they don't put a timescale on it, it means that they're out for a couple of months at least. The fact that we haven't heard anything about him being back in training or preparing for a return, I think, means that it is going to be a little bit more time until we see Patrick Bamford. I think Rodrigo has been doing all right in that role. It was bright against Leicester. His press was extremely energetic. He put the Leicester back line under a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But he still doesn't lead the line quite the way Bamford does. And like I say, young Joe Gelhardt, he is ready for more first team minutes, but I'm not sure it is at striker. But a really positive performance from him for the most part. It's just it's a shame that there wasn't someone up there with him that he could play off a little bit more. So yeah, the unavailability issues are quite worrying. Hopefully Rafinha's isn't too bad. I don't think it's supposed to be too bad.
I think Phil Hay indicated that it's not going to be too bad, and he looks okay potentially for the Brighton game because it was just an illness and it hasn't been confirmed if it was COVID or anything. Rodrigo does look like he'll be out for, well, he may be back for the weekend, but they haven't been like a bit like with a proper time scale on him as of yet. Back to the game, like you say, we mentioned Gelhardt. I thought someone else who had a fantastic game was, of course, the Yorkshire Pearler Calvin Phillips, and it's becoming, a theme over the last 3 and a bit years under Bielsa. When Calvin plays, we play well, and obviously it was a defeat. But even him playing at centre back for the majority of the game, him and Liam Cooper kept their danger men, Son and Kane, very, very quiet.
In the first half, yeah. It changed a bit in the second half. I mean, from the first minute of the second half, Spurs had a really good chance and had a few more chances like that. But Calvin Phillips' first half performance was ridiculously good. He was just there every time you needed him. It was a perfect performance, if anything, because I can't think of a foot he put wrong.
No.
He didn't give Kane a chance at all. He was man marking Kane, and he was just nipping in, getting the ball off. He's either intercepted the ball before it's reached Kane, or he's got it very quickly out of Kane's feet once it's reached his feet, and then he's passing from deep from defence was also very solid in starting off attacks and just solidity as well, playing the simple ball when he needed it and just keeping us going, playing it to someone else who's in a better position to pick out a pass. So he genuinely did not put a foot wrong in the first half. Second half, he got pushed back up a little bit and weirdly back in his natural position. He wasn't quite as good. He got caught in possession, I think, in midfield a couple of times. So I don't know about that. That was a bit odd, but I think it was just that the game started to go against us and we were struggling to get a grip on it, and it's hard to say any individual was particularly bad in that situation. It was just the tide was completely against us. Liam Cooper also, like you say, very solid in the first half. Maybe a couple of things in the second half where Spurs have created a few more chances, but they're playing against some of the best forwards in the Premier League. And I know Spurs aren't having a brilliant season, but Son, Kane, Lucas Moura, these are some of the most dangerous attacking players in the Premier League, and I think that shows the fact that we've kept them so quiet in the first 45 minutes is a really positive sign.
Well, the people who don't usually watch Leeds that much will always say, "Oh, you can't keep clean sheets, and you always sort of win 5-4 or lose 5-4." But defensively, we've looked very, very good against 2 of the league's threats, and I don't know. It's just so frustrating going into the game, looking at the lineup, thinking, "Oh, I'll take, I'll take a point, but realistically, I think it's going to be a loss. And then getting into that position, it's always the case in the games that you don't expect to win. You always get a little sniff of what those 3 points would look like, and you're thinking, oh, I'm checking the table literally at half time, thinking, God, we're 4 points off Man United here. This is all right, this Premier League business. People have mentioned relegation battle. Look at us climbing the table, and then obviously within 10 minutes, they're 2-1 up with. Okay, the first one's not as scrappy, but the second goal is how's your luck, really, isn't it? It's Melier at Wolves the last season, isn't it? It's on that level.
Yeah, an extremely unfortunate goal to concede. It is. I don't know if it's more unlucky than the Wolves one with Melier last season, where it's come off his back, because the free kicks hit the wall, but luckily in a decent place for it to deflect, kind of off the post, and
Yeah.
Reguilon's the quickest there to react and put it in. But a deflection off the wall onto the post and back out into a good position in front of goal, it's just, it's an extremely unfortunate way to concede.
Do you know what? I think I'd have rather it actually just hit the post or like deflect and just go in and not even hit the post. At that point, you're kind of feeling, oh, okay, that's all right. Like, it's just deflected a bit, but then to deflect onto the post and then get a rebound, like you say, back to Reguilon, it's just so frustrating, like you were saying.
Yeah, it is. It's the worst possible way to lose a point. And a point would have been an extremely positive result out of that game. To go to Spurs with Antonio Conte just coming in, the threat of a new manager bounds, just a good side in general, despite the recent form. That would have been a really good point going into a Brighton game where, Brighton had a good start to the season, but they're maybe starting to drop off, and it's a very winnable game. So it is. It's a shame to miss out, and it's a shame to miss out because of that goal.
My connection dropped there, but I think I'm back. Yeah, no, I think I'm here. I think I'm very much. Wait, yeah, I think we're here. Well, we'll get on to that Brighton goal in a bit. Brighton game. I do want to sort of pose you a question, though, Kieran. If we did have Rafinha, do you think we get anything from that game?
Yeah, probably. I'm not 100% sure because, like I say, I think Dan James and Jack Harrison both had one of their best performances of the season each. So it's not like we lacked threat on the wings. I just think we lacked a presence in the box, maybe. I think Patrick Bamford would have been a bigger difference, weirdly, than Rafinha. But still, I mean, a lot of these positions around the box, like Jack Harrison, Dan James, both very good bombing forward, very good at getting space on the wings. But sometimes, I mean, Jack Harrison scored a fair few goals from outside the box, but we haven't really seen it from Dan James. Whereas Rafinha, there's no overplaying it with Rafinha. He's very direct, and if he sees a sight of goal, he'll probably try and take it on. And maybe when we don't have someone leading the line the way Bamford does, someone in the box with his kind of presence, shooting on sight a little bit is the way forward. And I think maybe sometimes we did overplay it, and Rafinha's directness would have made a difference. But if you just give us one of Rafinha or Bamford, and it may have been a different result there.
I was gonna say I do agree with you. I think we can nick a point. I think we could have nicked a point realistically without any of them. So I think we could have almost guaranteed a point with one of them. And I'm just thinking like Rafinha running at Ben Davies would have just been like it would have just been so like fitting, or just so nice to just okay, I'm not saying he'd have torn him apart, but I think he would have had the beating of him. And then if we'd have had both of them, look, it's an upgrade on a 3-0 defeat that we had last season. So touch wood, if we do stay in the league, we can maybe go to Spurs next season and pick up a point. Other sort of mentions also to Stuart McKinstry, who made his Premier League debut for Leeds United. I'm pretty sure he made his debut in the Carabao Cup against Fulham in the penalty shootout win. I was a big fan of him already, to be honest, from that shootout where he went straight to the fans at Craven Cottage instead of running straight to the goalkeeper. He literally turned around. He's the only player in that picture who turns around and runs straight back to the Leeds United fans. So congratulations to McKinstry for making his debut. But I guess the fact we're bringing him on and you're looking at the bench as well with Greenwood on it as well as McKinstry, it just does show, Kieran, doesn't it, the lack of depth that we've got at the moment.
Yeah, it's worrying because when that game starts to slip away from us, when Spurs start to get on top, you may be hoping for, let's say Adam Forshaw wasn't in from the start and he was an option from the bench, which is maybe not what it would be, but maybe what it would be if we're at full strength at the moment. Then he's a really good option as just a senior calm head to throw on and maybe see if you can just pick up more of those balls in midfield and take control of the game a bit again, or take a little bit of control away from Spurs. But all these young lads, they have great potential. They perform so well, and they've all showed quite encouraging signs when they have had senior minutes. But so I think a game like that, you're just calling out for a senior head, a calm head from the bench, and we just didn't have that. I mean, Junior Firpo was probably the most senior player on the bench, and he's been injured for weeks, and he's not even that senior. I think he's about 24, 25 years old. So, yeah, it's a bit worrying, and I've seen some criticism of Bielsa's substitutions, and it's like, what substitutions could he make? We don't really have any impact subs.
I am here. I don't know whether you can hear me.
Yeah, I can.
There we go. I think we've pretty much covered most of. I must admit, what you were saying was very in and out of connection. I'm working on a very, very, very low budget university house Wi-Fi, so apologies to anyone watching, and hopefully the playback isn't too bad. If you do go to watch this back, I think we've covered most of the Spurs defeat. Anything else you'd like to add, Kieran? There were actually a couple of VAR checks, one for the Højbjerg goal and one for a penalty incident. But realistically, if that Harry Kane handball's given against us, you're a bit angry, aren't you?
Yeah, it's extremely close range, and there's nothing Harry Kane can really do. His arms by his side in a natural position, and the distance that the ball's coming at him from, it'd be extremely quick reactions to move it. It is so annoying though, because that looks like it's heading on target. You don't know if it's heading past the goalkeeper or whether it's got a bit of a weird flight path on it and it isn't actually heading on target. But it's just so annoying to see something that looks like it's going on target cut out by a hand, and it would have been unfortunate for Harry Kane, but it's also really unfortunate for Joe Delhart.
It's when they brought up the purple screen on Sky on the coverage, and I'm thinking, well, usually the ones that don't get sort of changed are the ones that they just sort of picture the referee, show the replay, and then when they bring it back to the main screen, the game's already kicking back off, and it's all like, check's been denied. But then they bring up the purple screen. I'm thinking, hold on. Well, it has sort of hit his hand. I mean, it's a bit unfair, but if they're really going to check it and then it doesn't get given, I just thought that might be our way back into the game. But like we said, if that's given against us, I'm a bit annoyed because it is very close range, and but like you say, would have been on target, gone in. I don't know, to be honest. But a 2-1 defeat in London. Again, another London defeat. We'll be back in, I'm sure, to try and get some sort of point in London. Our next game isn't exactly in London, but it's more on the outskirts. It's Brighton away at the Amex. And if you thought London had a bad run of form in terms of Leeds United statistics, well, look at the Amex. Leeds haven't won at the Amex since the 21st of November 2009. So it was the anniversary of it yesterday, actually. And that was obviously in the promotion season from League One under Simon Grayson. So, Kieran, it's not the stat you really want to hear going into this game, is it?
No, I mean, I think everyone's aware of his bad record at the Amex. It doesn't bring back good memories at all. Many years in the Championship together, and just so many defeats. But yeah, they're beatable at the moment. I think the form's dropped off a little bit after a really, really good start to the season for them. So hopefully that means they're there for the taking. Hopefully there's no such thing as a curse. It's just we've had bad luck and bad performances there. But yeah, it's never fills you with confidence to trip to the Amex as a Leeds fan. And Brighton, they are a good team. They've shown they're a good team plenty of times this season. The lightning start to the season was one of the surprises of the early days of this season, and some great performances in there. They didn't seem like a flash in the pan, to be fair. They seemed like a team that would maybe string together good form throughout the season. I'm not saying they're going to do a Leicester and win the league or they ever looked like that, but
Yeah,
it just looked really solid. But also we're a fairly solid team ourselves when we get going. I feel like our performances have been improving despite the second half against Spurs. So it's a winnable game. It's a winnable game. Despite the record, it is a winnable game.
I do agree. I do think there is something in this game that tells me we can actually walk away with 3 points here. Because I was looking at the table and they're in the top half of the table, and I think they're just below their rivals Crystal Palace, who we've obviously got coming up in the midweek after this Brighton game. And I was looking and I thought, I know they've had a good start to the season, and then I had a look on my football app and had a look at their recent results. And do you know, game since the 19th of September against Leicester City, they won in the cup just after that. And they've had a lot of draws. Like, they've drawn away at Anfield, which is obviously a fantastic result. But then drawing against Norwich, I think they've drawn against, was it Newcastle as well? And they actually haven't been in that great form recently. I mean, we've won more. Both our wins actually came since their last win in the season. So in the form table may suggest we're actually on better form than them. So I guess that is a bit of confidence that we can potentially get something from this game.
Yeah, but we were in better form than them for most of last season as well. Probably better form than them both times we played against them.
You ruined it, Kieran. I'm trying to get positive.
Yeah, I know. But you have to balance it out. You have to consider every aspect. And they did the double over us last season, didn't they?
They did, yeah, they did.
I think both of them were actually deserved wins in the end, weirdly, as well. I think there were just two games where we seemed to underperform. Certainly the game at Elland Road, we were far below our best. Of course, I believe last season we should have beaten them based on, the comparative abilities that both teams showed throughout the season. I think the league table had backed that up as well. So I don't know, maybe we were above them last season, but somehow ended up on the losing side twice. So now they're above us. Maybe we'll turn the tables. I'm feeling a double over Brighton this season.
I hope. Well, to be fair, I'd take it. There's no Ben White in their side, obviously, to stop proceedings. It's, I don't know, a rivalry between there isn't a rivalry between Leeds and Brighton. I don't know why I'm trying to make out like there is. But the whole Ben White thing of not giving to rivals and direct competition, there's just that little sort of bit on edge between them. I don't know. I don't hate Brighton. I don't have a rivalry with them. But that sort of Ben White debacle and the whole free Ben White thing outside of Brighton Stadium sort of sparked like slightly something, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And to be fair, I think many years of battling in the Championship together also had maybe a little bit of edge, like you say. They're not rivals, There's
No.
If you look at the whole history of the clubs, there's probably not that much competitive history between them compared to most other teams. Because although it feels like we're in the same league as them for ages, when we're in the Championship together. Before that, we were probably in different leagues for most of us history. But yeah, there's a bit of recent competitive edge there. I'm remembering that the Chris Wood game where it looks like we were nailed on for the playoffs a few
Don't.
seasons back, and it also hurt their chances of winning the championship title that season. I think it may have even put a little bit of doubt over automatic promotion, but they managed to get the job done in the end. So I remember Brighton fans really not liking that result, accusing was it Suleimani Dakar of diving for the penalty for the second goal. So yeah, a little bit. We're not rivals, but there is a little bit of edge there with Brighton.
I was going to say, we are two of sort of the clubs who were hovering in the Championship for a while. And obviously, like we've said, the Amex wasn't exactly the best place to go. But in terms of the ones at Ellen Road, like you mentioned, that one with Chris Wood, there was the one, was it the first game of the season
Yeah,
under Brian
Luke
McDermott when
Murphy.
Matt Smith heads it down after Jason Pearce has kind of just handballed it on his way through to Matt Smith. And then Luke Murphy just puts it top right and you're thinking, that's the £1 million check already paid off. Like, that's it. Do anything else in his Leeds career now, that would be worth it. And to be fair, he actually scored quite a few screamers, to be fair, Luke Murphy. Luke Murphy, I've got a very, very soft spot for. I mean, he's got no relevance really into Brighton and Hove Albion, but Luke Murphy, you're a good man. You're a good man because he was. Or was it when he came back in the cup earlier on this season? Didn't he get a really good reception?
Yeah, I think they gave him an ovation when he got subbed off, or certainly a sat down round of applause at the very least. He did get a good reception.
Well, to be honest, if you're an ex-player and you haven't done too much and you were playing within that Chileno era, I think a sit-down round of applause is maybe the maximum you could sort of get. Maybe unless you sort of Ross McCormack on that sort of level. Your Luke Murphys, your Antonucci's, your Dakaras, a sit-down round of applause. I think you're taking that. I'm looking on FotMob, and that's the footballing app of choice that I use. That's not a pay. It's just on my phone at the moment in time. And looking at Brighton's sort of most used formation, this is the most tactical I think this podcast has ever got. They like to play the three at the back with Webster, Duffy, and Dunk. Now, while you were talking, I was sort of just thinking of Joe Geldhart on his own up front potentially with Lewis Dunk, Shane Duffy, and Aaron Webster, who know how to sort of bully people and how to sort of bully defenders, and in a sense, young Joe Geldhart on his own against them three. Is there a shout to of say Rodrigo and Geldhart if they're both fit, if Rodrigo is fit to potentially get in between Dunk, Duffy, and Webster, who aren't the quickest of defenders?
Well, we know that we like to switch to three at the back when we're up against two strikers, to three centre backs. So, that shows that Bielsa recognises that going up against two strikers is a very different proposition to going up against one. And it also shows that he thinks that, when there's only one striker up top, you can get away with two centre backs, but maybe two up top forces a different perspective. So you can kind of flip that where you come up against a team that plays with two centre backs, you're fine playing with your one lead in the line, but you come up against three centre backs, you may be asking a lot of that one lead in the line. But at the same time, Bielsa never really goes for two up top. He has gone for Bamford and Rodrigo, with Rodrigo playing behind. So I can see that maybe. I think what we'd be looking for maybe is if we're playing three centre backs is, that they'll likely be playing wing backs bombing forward and hopefully if we have two players out wide on each side, a right back and a right winger, left back, left winger, just getting at them down the wings. There should be plenty of space out there, so overlapping runs, underlapping runs. Just get, hopefully, if Rafinha's back from his illness, getting Rafinha running at him, getting Dan James running at him, trying to exploit any space out wide.
Yeah.
The problem is the crossing, like I said, the crossing was a bit frustrating against Spurs, knowing that we've not got anyone in the middle that's really good at heading away crosses. I don't know why I mimicked a header there.
Just for the viewers at home who don't know what a header on, here's a header that Kieran made earlier for the viewers who aren't too sure what the sorry to the audio listeners who haven't been able to view that. I'm sure you can enjoy watching Kieran sort of a header in your picture that image in your head.
So get down the wings, but maybe do something other than a cross into the box, or at least do a low cross, because we don't really have anyone big, anyone who really heads those home. So I don't know. Yeah, low crosses. That's what I'm saying. We're going to win it with low crosses.
It reminded me so much of like a manager, you know, when they're on a touchline and like I don't know, their team's got a corner and they sort of head it with the player, like when they sort of standing their arms crossed, just little little sort of header. Well, hopefully, look, they may be playing this at Thorpe Arch on when would it be? Probably Thursday evening before they travel to Brighton. Showing, look, that's what you got to do from these corners: head it out or head it in, but do it like what Kieran's just done there. And if that's the reason we go and beat Brighton in league places, I think the Bremner Square podcast should receive a large amount of money for that success. So thank you, Marcelo and Andrea, in advance. I agree with you, to be honest. Tariq Lamptey and Cucurella, who was their summer signing, who's been fantastic this season, they do like to bomb forward quite a bit. So if Rafinha, James, Harrison can exploit that space in behind, that would be wonderful as well. You get some proper good insight on FOTMob. That, to be fair, it's a very, very good app.
This is a paid sponsorship, isn't it?
No, it's not paid. It's not a paid sponsorship at all. I'm just saying that they tell you that the Americans, known as the Amex, the preferred surface that they use is grass. So there's the insight of the day for all the listeners out there. Opened in 2011 and a capacity of 30,750. Not a paid sponsorship, but a grass stadium indeed. Maybe that we should every stadium Leeds play at now check if it is actually grass and see which ones in the Premier League aren't grass. That's the new feature on the podcast. But let's get some score predictions then for this game against Brighton. Today, 5:30 kickoff on Sky, under the lights at the Amex. Let's get a score prediction.
2-0 Leeds.
2-0 Leeds, very confident. Clean sheet. I'm gonna go 2-1, same as Spurs, but it's a win this time. Don't worry, no defeat. I'm going to go 2-1 Leeds. Rafinha and Geldhart's going to get his first goal. Maybe that's a bit brave. I'm not sure. Geldhart's going to get his first goal. I don't know if you saw it. I think it was his mum posting on social media. I think his whole family, went up went down to watch him play, which is obviously a fantastic moment for him and his family, much like Stuart McKinstry as well. Fantastic day for both of them. Never mind the result. Kieran, I want to get your thoughts on the upcoming 3 games, actually, because we've spoken over the last couple of weeks of sort of that Christmas period. And, you know, when you preview something coming up in your life that happens sort of in a couple of months, you pretend it's not coming. Believe me, it's coming very soon after the next 3 games. I'm looking forward to those games, though, against the big boys. It's going to be some fantastic festive football. But these next 3 games, Brighton away, Palace at home, would you like to see us pick up over those next 3 games to give us a good sort of chance of faring well in the Christmas period? And obviously, you want to see us pick up 9, but a realistic overview.
Yeah, well, knowing how difficult that Christmas period is going to be for us, it'd be a confidence boost to get some big points on the board, because then that Christmas period becomes a bit of a free hit. You know, if we pull ourselves away from the relegation zone a little bit, then we can take, you know, we can deal with taking up minimal points over the Christmas period where we have got some really difficult fixtures, Chelsea, City. Yeah. I'd say it's really optimistic, but I'd like 7 points from these 3 games, because it is, like I say, 2 of them are at home, Brighton away. Yeah. We mentioned Brighton. After that stunning start to the season, the form's dropped massively, and it is a good time to play them, probably. So we really need to capitalise at this point, and 7 points would be, you know, would be ideal. Well, 9 points would be ideal, but 7 points would be a very solid return.
To be fair, I see these questions popping about on Twitter, and they never actually phrase them as "What would you like?" I don't know why I've sort of phrased it in that sense. Like, of course, you would want 9 points, but what would you think we should be getting? 7 points is well, it's an unbeaten run. Where would you say the draw's going to come against? Because you predicted a win against, sort of was that you being optimistic?
Yeah, no, I predicted a win for this individual game, but I could see this one being the draw, going away to Brighton, where we've got difficult. We've got, we are in bad form at the Amex, so I don't know. I'm not saying specifically where we're going to pick up the 7 points. Just that we're going to draw one of these next 3 games and win the other 2. I fancy a win against Brighton. If it's a draw, I can deal with that as long as we then beat Palace and Brentford.
The thing is, Palace at home should be, on paper, before the start of the season, a very winnable game based on Palace's recent Premier League record. And now they're just like, their game against Burnley at the weekend was meant to be the most 0-0 fixture, I think, of all time. And it was like 3-2 at half time and ended 3-all. 6 goals in that game was just absolutely bizarre. And their start to the season has been absolutely ridiculous. So that's not going to be an easy game as well. Brentford have tailed off a bit like Brighton. So I can see 7. And do you know what? I've got 9, and that's it's incredibly over optimistic of me to predict that we may even potentially get 9 points here, because it could quite possibly be 0 as well. I just hope it's 7 or 9. I'd take. Would I take? Would you take 6 points?
Yeah, I'd take 6 points.
Would you? What's the minimum you'd take?
5, which would be another unbeaten run.
That's true. I sat here thinking about asking you 5. I was like, there's no way you can get win 2 draws. My math has just been awful there. I think you can't get a 5 from that amount of games. No, yes, you can. You can indeed. I think I like that. 5 the minimum. Stay unbeaten in this next run of 3, and then go into those tricky games over Christmas, which personally, like I've said, I am really looking forward to. Because if you remember back to last season, that run in April was like sort of like one of the highlights of the season last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, we just picked up some really good form, and it was an excellent way to end the season. We were getting some really good results against some top sides. So yeah, you take some confidence from that. When we're playing it as best we can, go to these sides and give them a good game, give them more than a good game, even beat them. But I'm also remembering last season as worst run of form was probably over Christmas, including losing to Man United.
Yeah, that game was.
Yeah, I forgot. Was it 6-1 or 6-2? Anyway,
no, we got 2. We got 2.
We got 2.
We got 2.
Yeah, remembering that Christmas was difficult last year, and we've arguably got a worse run of fixtures over Christmas this year. It's that's putting a little bit of doubt in there. But on this day we can take results off anyone in this league.
Christmas was difficult last year, but I'm trying to remember. Didn't we? I think we beat Newcastle 5-2, then lost to Manchester United 6-2 in the last game before Christmas. Then we beat Burnley 1-0, and then I think we beat. I think obviously those were sort of a very easy run of games: Newcastle, Burnley, and West Brom. But then it was that sort of tail off period, wasn't it? When we played, who was it in the cup we lost to? Crawley in the cup we lost to. Then Spurs, then Brighton, and it was just. Then it sort of, I remember, yeah, like you say, it sort of tailed off from there. Leeds United never stereotypically do well over the Christmas period. Bielsa's provided us with some decent Christmas periods, actually. I mean, that one against Villa and Blackburn in 20 about enough. And I'm sure we can actually talk about these in depth when it gets closer to that festive period. But hopefully Leeds can pick up 3 points at the weekend against Brighton and put us in good stead for the upcoming next games against Crystal Palace and Brentford. Thank you very much to everyone who tuned in on this week's episode of the Bremner Squared podcast. Thank you very much, Kieran, for coming on as usual. Have a very good week. Stay safe, and we will see you on the next one. Bye for now.